Awesome. We're just going to wait a couple of seconds, let everyone come on and join us on Let's Talk About Ice, live from the Gold Coast. And yeah, it's a bit rainy and cold here on the Gold Coast, but we are on fire. Yeah, we are on fire because we're here tonight. We're heated up and raring to share an amazing story with Mel. So say hello to Mel. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mel, for being on the show and for agreeing to share your story. It's a big deal, guys, you know, to come and share with potentially, you know, quite a few thousand people, to share the inside of your journey that you've gone through and what has happened to you through that journey. You know, and it takes you back. You start to remember, you know, the journey, and it's all. Oh, I've got. What's happening? Yeah, it's we've got sound issues, guys. By the look of it. I can't have it studied. See, how's the sound now? Can you give me a thumbs up if the sound is better? I think we're having issues with the little portable mic. Any thumbs up?
Excellent.
Okay, can you shut the door then? It's very distracting. Sorry, guys. It's live. It's real. You know, they forget. I get really easily distracted. So if there's noise going on over here and they're talking, I'm like here and there and everywhere. So this is real. This is live. So let's go back. Where was I? We're bringing Mel on the show. She's sharing her heart, right? And she's going to share her journey with you. So before we start, I'm going to ask you to please press share right now on your screen, and share this story on your page for us, please. You know, you don't know who needs to hear this story. You might have somebody in your family that might, you know, be thinking about picking up a pipe or, you know, using heavy drugs. You might have somebody that is using. Or you might just want to help the community. You don't know who needs to hear this story. Some people just suffer in silence. You know, a family member might be needing to hear this story, and it might help them in their journey, helping their loved one. So I'm going to ask you right now to click share on your Facebook page, because you can make a difference just by doing that. It can help somebody's life. Yeah. So yeah, we don't take it lightly what we do, because sharing our testimony helps so many people, Mel. Yeah. So I'm grateful that you said yes to come and share your story today. So thank you for having me. Oh, absolute honour, honestly. And I'm really curious, because I don't know much about your story. I kind of started reading a little bit about it, and then I went, no, I'm going to leave it alone, because I think this is going to be a doozy. I think it's going to be a good one, and I need to ask the probing questions, right? Sure. Because basically I'm going to ask what the people at home might be thinking. Sure. And guys, if you have questions for Mel, now's the time to post it. And if you ask, we can talk with you, and she can answer here live. Of course, after the show, we'll tag her on it, and she'll be able to answer and communicate. But, you know, if you want to ask questions, please do so, because, you know, some people might be thinking these questions and they might not, you know what to put themselves out there and ask. So just ask away, please, because Mel will, I'm sure, would love to answer some of those questions, or even to myself. So before I get started and start walking on that journey with you, I just got to make a couple of shout outs and do a little bit of, I always have to think about this. Is that housework?
I think
housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
I'm like, it's something I don't like. It's housework. Housekeeping. That's it. I always get it. I just can't get it through my brain, and it's almost like a joke, you know, like yeah. I get confused. But anyway, so I will remind you that the number for help, to call is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. So that's 1-800-6686-423, and that's for anybody that it may be interruption addiction. You're wanting to stop that cycle. You want to get out. We're here to help you. Please call us on that number. We'll be able to give you some support. Or if you're a family member also that has a loved one that's interruption addiction. It doesn't have to be ICE specifically. It can be any addiction. We're here to help. Yeah, we are ICE targeted because that drug is like no other drug, yeah. It actually hijacks the frontal lobe, and it's very different to any other drug where they still have logic, rational decision, processing center working. So we are targeting ice, but we work with all types of drugs and every addiction. So that's the number to call if you're a family member and you have a loved one in addiction as well, and you want some help. Please give us a call. We'll connect you with some family support. And some lived experienced people that can shed a bit of light, because that makes all the difference.
It does make a lot.
When you can understand what's going on, and you can understand, what's going on in here and why they're behaving like they are, and how you can help. More importantly, there are tools, there are ways, boundaries. There are different things that you can do. But we've got trained counsellors here that want to walk with you and that have lived it. So give us a call. Huge thank you to Gardener Cars. Oh my goodness, they have donated $3,700 towards this organisation. Thank you, Gardener Cars. You guys are amazing. It's the second year running that they supported us, and the guys there, they worked really, really hard to sell as many cars as they could in the burnout sale for June. And they're giving back, and they're giving back to your community. So, all that money will go towards our peer support service. We'll be able to get some more resources, and also to help provide a couple of phones and stuff for our peer support service. So that's our Bardi system, guys, and that's for anybody that is in the early stages of recovery or wanting to get out of addiction and into early stages of recovery. That's our Buddy support program. So we'll walk with you, and that's what it's about. It's about lending a hand to your brother. Speaking of lend a hand, my brother, that song is on my CD, and if you want to purchase it, you can go on Google Play, you can go on Spotify, on all the channels, or you can go onto our shop at www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au, and you can purchase your CD, your hard copy actual CD. They still make them, right? But you can have that, and I'll send that with an autograph on it for you. You can purchase that on our website. Lend a hand, my brother. So that's what we're about, guys. And Restore 21, the girls, Restore 21 is separate to the Girls from Transformation. Wait a minute. Yes, and Restore 21, our team has still been going into Restore 21 with the guys at the rehab there, and our guys have been loving going in there and sharing their stories, and we'll give you an opportunity to do that too, Mel. And it's so good because we're able to share our journey and encourage them. We just love Restore 21 and Sue in the house there. They do amazing work. The rehab there, Sue does such amazing work with the guys, And they sometimes come over here and give back and help us with gardening and, getting the stuff off the roof. But the Girls from Transformation have been coming in and helping for the second week in their program, and they're coming in here and they're helping, with different things around the office. So we're just growing to love them, and we just want to keep them, but they have to go back to the Transformation. But we just want to say thanks, Transformation. They have an amazing rehab program across Australia, and we support them very much, and we love the work that they do with people, walking with them in their recovery process and working that out. But so yeah, a couple of other things, guys. Our op shop. I so want to do a live cross from the op shop, right? Sissy, who's my mum, has been helping set that up, and Stella and Stormy and Paul. And yeah, everybody's come together to help put the op shop together. And guys, I'm just so excited because we're kind of a week away, maybe a week away or so from opening. Now, the proceeds from the op shop is all to help us do what we do. We're not funded by the government. We need to pay rent, we need to pay electricity, phone bills, and resources, and put petrol in the people, volunteers' cars and stuff. So we're doing that op shop to help fund what we do. And so I'm going to ask you, come and visit. Come and visit next week. It is exciting. If you have anything at home that you think, I could help and donate, please give us a call. 0756656063, or private message us. You can come down, say hi to the team, and drop it off and contribute to your community, because every bit helps, whether it's, today a lady came in and said, I've got a book that I want to donate, and that helps. Every bit helps, yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited because we're going to do a big launch for the Up Shop, and it's been a long time coming. So we'd love to have your support and come down and say hi and visit us. Couple of other things. Ride Against Ice on October the 24th. Saturday 10 a.m. It's on our event page. Please register. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. You know, we have Angry Anderson, and the young ones probably won't know who he is, but he's a legend, right? And he will be singing at that event. After the ride, he's going to ride the bikes with us, motorbikes, and then we're going to end up at the end at the Vietnam Vets, and we're all going to ride on these motorbikes on a Ride Against Ice. And at the end, we're going to have a big party, yeah? Drug and alcohol-free party. But, well, I think there's alcohol. They can buy alcohol there, but people in recovery, generally, we don't drink. But, you know, Angry is going to be singing there. It's going to be amazing, you know, afternoon, evening, and we're going to have a lot of fun together. So I encourage you to book online on our event page, yeah? Ride Against Ice, 24th of October. Stand up for something, yeah? Come and ride with us. And we're partnered with the Chariots of Light, who are the motorcycle group, Christian motorcycle group from the Heritage of Faith, and we are partnered with Vietnam Vets MC as well. So please check out our Facebook event page for details. That's going to be so much fun. And don't forget, you can get your t-shirts as well for the ride, and your look at that. That looks amazing. And we've got the two different types of t-shirts. So this one here, you have to earn this one. Yeah.
I'll have to come back.
You have to come back. And so this is a staff one, and it's not even once, but we do have ones for sale that are a little bit different. But the Neo one is our product line, and Neo stands for Not Even Once. So, and on the bottom it says Australian Anti-Ice Campaign. All the proceeds from everything that we sell, guys, go back towards what we do, which goes back into our community. Whether it's feeding on the streets, whether it's peer support service, counselling, whether it's education in the schools, all of our services are, you know, totally provided out of love. So we ask for you to support us if you're going to buy a t-shirt or a cap or a CD or come to visit the Op Shop, whatever it is. Or you can make a small monthly contribution, join the ARC Army, and you can sign the petition online to government and donate a small monthly amount, which helps us do what we do. Every $10 helps us educate another child against the dangers of ice and other drugs, eh? So I think that was all. Grilled. One more thing, sorry to keep you. Grilled Harbour Town from August the 1st. You need to go and grab a hamburger. Honestly, you are so going to be starving for a hamburger from August the 1st. Okay? And how long does that go for, Rianne?
For a month.
It goes for a month. So for the month of August, you are going to starve for a hamburger, and you want a grilled hamburger, honestly. If you're going to get a hamburger, you want to get a healthy one. Head down to Harbour Town, and you need to get your little cap. They give you little caps, and you need to put it into the Australian Anti-Ice Campaign tin, okay? Because then they donate some money towards us. So and you'll get fed as well. So go down to Harbour Town at Grilled and do that after the 1st of August, guys. And we're still taking sleeping bags and for our On the Streets program, or sponsoring swags. A sleeping bag costs us around $30. A swag costs us around $100. If you would like to sponsor one, please get in touch with us. You can do that online on our shop or on our Donate Now button, and just put the reference sleeping bag or swag. Or you can bring it in. You can bring in a blanket into the office here. We still have On the Streets program. Just with the just giving out at this time. It's freezing out there, and you know it's raining today, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you know there are people sleeping out there, and they need warmth, you know, and we use that as a tool to connect. Yeah, it's not about how many blankets you're going to give out. Well, it's just a tool to connect and sit with them, and you know tell them that they're worth recovery, that they're worth changing their life, and that they can do it because we're prepared to help them. So if you want to get involved in that On the Streets program, please get in touch with us. Okay, now I'm busting. Is that all I have to share? Okay, I've done that. Yay! I'm busting because I really want to hear your story. Okay, so thank you again for wanting to share. And I guess I look at you and I'm like, you're like probably about late 20s.
Thank you.
But I know you told me your age and I was like, what?
I know.
And I'm like, because when I saw, the first thing I read on the bio was 24 years in addiction. I'm like, what? You don't even look 24. Like, yeah. Tell me, take me back to when you think addiction started.
Addiction would have started when I was like 13.
Wow.
And that would have been cannabis and drinking.
Yeah.
Then it started around when I was 21. I took my first ecstasy pill. And then I just had the urge that I just wanted to be a dealer and a stripper because they made lots of money and they just had all this, everything that I wanted. And it was so easier to get than it is working like for good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I started dealing, so I started hanging out with motorcycle clubs because I didn't have that protection or love from my family. So I kind of went to them, and that's when I started selling. And then when I started selling, I started using. And then when I stopped selling, that's when I actually knew I had a habit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so it took you that long to discover, I have a habit now.
Yeah.
Wow. And how many years did that take?
Oh, God. That would have took a long time, at least about 3 years into it. Like,
Wow.
It doesn't sound like a long time, but it is when you're on it 6 days a week. You know, I only used to sleep probably 2 days a fortnight. That's it. I was constantly on it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it took you 3 years to go, okay, I think I've got a problem.
Yes.
I might have a problem.
Yep.
I might have, or I've got a problem, I need help.
No more that I was in denial.
Okay.
So I
So
wanted
you might have
to
had a
keep
problem.
using, but
Yeah.
I knew that I had a problem because I had to start paying for it. So
Yes.
at my first, after I stopped selling it, because I was getting it for free,
Yeah.
I think I paid $1,100, and I'm like, oh, I don't have $1,100.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into sex work, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, well, I need to pay for my habit.
Yep. And that's what
Yeah.
happens.
It
And
does.
I think that most people, I want to go back and go into a little bit more detail about that journey, but most people don't realise that that is where that life leads you. You know, you start, you know, I'm sure, and I'm going to ask it as it is,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that when you were 13 or when you were 8, you didn't think, okay, when I grow up, I want to be a sex worker and I want to be a drug addict and a dealer. Like, that's not really what's on somebody's heart. A beautiful young girl like this, what's on her heart for her career path. It just happens. You know, that's just where it leads you, and it leads you, and a door opens, and you think, oh, I won't do that, but then you do.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually have a thought of what my future was be. I was more in survival mode than I was trying to
Wow.
survive. So I didn't even think the next week. I was
Yeah.
like homeless at the age of 16.
Wow.
I got sexually abused by my brother when I was 12. So
Paint for me a picture, Mel, please. What were your early, childhood like? What did that look like? Because a lot of people go, oh yeah, you know, you can become a drug addict or addicted to drugs if you have, had a traumatic life, and it's only because of that. Paint for me what it looked like as a kid.
my childhood,
Yeah.
without the drugs and stuff,
Yeah, before drugs started, what was it like? What was life like for you?
it wasn't fun at all. It wasn't. I didn't have loving family. Like, Mum always had a saying that don't get mad, get even. So I learnt very quickly that tit for tat. So if you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. We weren't allowed to cry. Not like Mum never said like you're not allowed to cry or anything. But every time that I cried, you're American because I'm half Māori, so roll my ass, sorry. And so she's like, you need to be strong. Yeah. So I constantly had to be strong no matter what happened.
Yeah.
And after my mum sent me to my brother's for a holiday, I came back and it was just, she didn't believe me after I told her. I couldn't tell her till I was 14 what happened when I was 12. And when she didn't believe me, told my dad didn't do anything, my youngest brother didn't do anything, and I'm like, I didn't understand because I didn't get hugs, I didn't get cuddles. I never got told I love you or anything like that. Mum doesn't do cuddles, she'll do pat the arm. And I really thought it was strange. I only remember 3 Christmases. My husband gave me my first birthday, which I was 28.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was very hard as a child to go like, sorry, I'm probably going to cry, but where was the love? Like, is this normal? Like, do other people do that?
Yeah.
And it was really just hard. Like, my mum punched me in the eye when I was 12 because my brother hit me with a cricket bat, and I went down to a Christian family, and I just was in tears because my mum said, like, just let me get through the door. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I went down to a Christian family. He came up to try to help. as soon as the door closed, she punched me and gave me black eye, and she's like, you have to tell, you know, school that, you know, you walked into a door, which is the common excuse people use.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to numb pain.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into cannabis when I was 13, and I'm like, just wanted to get high and escape.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot because we, as you know, we work in the schools, and when we start sharing our story, sometimes when we finish our workshop, the kids come up, the girls come up and chat with us, and they share some of their deepest stuff that's going on for them. And I started using drugs, and you know, I don't want to end up like you did. I don't want to end up going down that path, but you know, everything else hurts, you know, and we encourage them to connect with one of our counsellors. We encourage them to talk and get some help, because you know, life happens, and life's not always pretty, and circumstances aren't always perfect, and you know, sometimes it's like, hey God, I think you dropped me into the wrong family, or you dropped me into the wrong place, you know, but God had a purpose, I believe, for what happened to you. It's not right, and it's never nice, that journey, and I understand that how you wanted to mask that pain, and it's easy to just pick something up. Why not? You know, everyone else is doing it, and you know, at least it's gonna. Is that what you thought?
I can't go. I don't actually remember. I just remember that I wanted to numb the pain, and just
So was it a bit like? Were you a bit rebellious? Was that?
I would say it ended up being that way. I was very angry, very hurt.
Yeah.
I got bullied at school, and I ended up being the bully because I had to stand up for myself. With Mum teaching me, don't get mad. Don't get mad, get even.
Yeah.
I had to learn to quickly stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And everyone just wanted to pick on me. I just didn't understand. I was that odd one out that everyone wanted to fight.
Yeah.
So I learned to be strong very quickly. When I slept on the streets when I was 16, you have to kind of hold your own.
So how did you end up on the street? Tell me what happened.
So after the sexual assault with my brother, I went back, told my mum, and she just didn't believe me, or was in denial, or still want to keep talking to me like it was a conversation like it never happened.
Yeah.
And so I went back and forth. My dad literally left us a couple of years before when I was 8. So I went back and forth from Brisbane to Newcastle. But I literally done this trip about 30 times in the whole, like, probably 8 years. What was the question again? Sorry, my brain toddled off on me.
That's all right. I don't even remember what I asked you. Sorry. I was so engaged in the travelling back and forth, and I'm thinking, were you doing that off your head? Like,
how did I get onto being... No, I was just
rebellious.
using cannabis then. So so I ended up being on the streets because I just couldn't. My dad I didn't know anything about my dad till he passed away, and his best mate told me about who he was. And when I asked him, he said, "What do you want to know?" I'm like, "Anything," and he would just sit there and not do anything. So when I just was on the streets, it was so much better because I connected with people. I had communication with people. People wanted cuddles, and it just brought temporary joy.
So did you get kicked out of home, or did you just make a decision that I'm out of here, I don't want to live here anymore?
No.
So you were getting more communication and more connection with people on the street than you were at home. You know what? When we go out and do the On the Streets program, like, we just connect, you know, and there's so much really there's love out, for one another, and even though they're going through a hard time and they want out, but they're like, well, why can't we have this in the normal world? Because and that's what one of our girls who started working here, within a month, she said, it's very different in here in ARC. Why can't the world be like this? Where it's love and it's real and it's and it's kind and it's caring and uplifting one another. But the world's not like that, and so you wanted to out of that space.
Not till 2 years ago is when I realised there was something that Christians had, and I'm like, I want that, and it was joy and happiness, and they had blessed lives, and I'm like, why didn't I get that? I so want that, and I'm going to put 110% in to try to figure out and try to get there,
that's
whether
awesome.
I can or not. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and that's true. There is an internal joy and a peace, and I've heard a lot of people say, what is that? When we go out on the streets, they're like, why are you like this? Why are you doing this? Why are you helping us? Because we love you, but you don't know me. Yeah, but I've been you, and I understand that you're hurting, and I understand that maybe you haven't had love at home, and maybe that you've had the pain that you're trying to mask, and you know, we can show you a better way. Come and join our family, you know, and it makes a difference because they know we care.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me about, so you went out and lived on the streets. What was that like?
Well,
I hear the connection and the friendship. Yeah.
it was good. It was very. I hung out with an Aboriginal family. They were beautiful. They just took me in, but but we always ended up in. I was the white girl fighting Tongas and different people, and just random. They'll just come fight me, and I'm like, oh, and probably because I was the only white girl there. But they were the ones that they were my family. Like we're still in contact now, and yeah, it was good to actually feel that someone was like wanted to be a part of me or be my friend.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. Nights were cold.
Yeah.
Cold, and just sleeping on the trains or trying to stay awake and
Watch your stuff.
just everything.
Yeah.
Did break and enters and stole cars, and it just went straight into crime, and because you had to try to survive, so you had to, yeah.
So how long did you do that for, Mel?
Holy moly. Probably all the way up till I was 35.
Wow. Wow. So from 16?
16.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Did you not ever think like, you know, maybe I could change my life, or maybe I could get a place and
I didn't have the support. I didn't have support. I thought about it lots.
Yeah.
It's really strange because I never thought about support networks or going to get help or anything like that.
You don't
No,
while you're there.
you don't.
You don't while you're in that
Yeah.
position. You just don't know how to make that change, and that's why we go out to them and we say, "Hey, this is how you do it. Contact us. Let's work together to get you help, get a house, get yourself settled. Maybe we can look at, you know, you can come and do some work experience. You can do some training. We can help you get a job. You know, all of these things. But more importantly, have that love network. You know, that network of love that, you know, you can feel like, you know, part of something.
Yeah.
You know.
You need to feel like you belong.
Yeah.
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 I did a lot of, I've lived I'm in housing now, so I've lived there for a year and a half.
Awesome.
First place I've ever stayed.
Awesome.
So I've lived in brothels, and I've lived in clubhouses, and I've couch surfed, and I've just stayed awake and partied.
Yeah.
And it just feels good to actually have a stability.
That's
I
amazing.
never thought I would ever get it.
That is so
Yeah,
cool,
so it
man,
feels good.
honestly.
Yeah.
And so if we're speaking to you, you might
Yeah.
be watching this and you might, you know, be living in that lifestyle. I mean, you want to hear from somebody that's done that and then changed to try something else, and she's loving it.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody sent you this link and you're thinking, oh, you know, it couldn't work for me, you haven't tried it.
Yeah.
Try it. You know, reach out for help.
Yeah.
I had a young girl who I love very dearly, and she's now in rehab in Melbourne. But I remember once I took her in, and she had lived on the street all the time, and I set her up on my couch, really nice. You know, I gave her dinner and pillows, and you know, put the night light on, and I thought I just wanted her to be comfortable and get a good night's sleep. You know, and I got up in the morning, and she's out on the balcony in a sleeping bag on the balcony, and I'm like, why? It's cold. Like, why? She goes, I just feel closed in. I just feel like I'm, you know, locked away, and I had to go. And you know, that was where she was. And I said, that's okay. Look, you can sleep on the balcony tomorrow night again. You know, that was just where she was. You know, and we did that walk, and now she's in rehab. So it's really, really good. You know, you got to meet people where they're at.
You do.
You know, that's why we go and hand out food blankets, and we go, hey, can we come and eat with you guys tonight? You know, and they welcome us, and we sit down and we chat. And you know, we had in the community centre in Southport, they have church there. And I said, hey, if you want to come and hear my story, I went and shared my story there. And I said, if you want to come and hear my story, come down, you know, and we'll eat like a family, man, you know, because just because you're living on the street, you're my brother and my sister, and we're all ultimately one.
Yep.
So, you know, I want you to come and hear, you know, let me share a little bit, you know, as well. So, you know, we have to reach out and be there for one another, because you never know the background of what took that person to that place, you know. So tell me about, you very quickly went, you know, I lived in clubhouses, in brothels. Tell me what that was like, and what were you thinking? Like, while you?
Time.
Yeah. What's going on in here for you, like at that time?
I with the sex work, I needed love. I needed. It wasn't about the money. People have said, "Oh, it must have been about the money and stuff like that." That was appeal because I had no money.
Yes.
That's not a lie. But I just needed touch. So my love language is touch, and I never had got it. Like, and so it was really a thing for me to just to be touched.
Yeah.
So that was that for a very long time. I think I stopped that when February, March 2018. So just recently, just the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle clubs, they were very, in the state of mind I was in, it was very fun, very protective, very wild.
Yeah.
I would end up being more of a perpetrator and instead of a person on the receiving end of that. I don't know how to explain that one, but I was more of one of the boys.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot of wild things. I participated in a lot of wild things. So it was very dangerous. When I look back at it now, like half the time I'm like, how did I survive that? Like it had to be the grace of God. I'm like, so many times like I wanted to set a girl on fire, and because she annoyed me in the brothel, like my headspace was just in full revenge, and I wanted to hurt people, and so I planned it out and everything, and it didn't go through or anything, which was great.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Because you could be locked up for life. You know, we go to court sometimes with some of our guys. You know, they've got a history, and you know, and they have to face court, and they, even though they've changed their life, you know, even 5 years down the track, you still have to face what you've done and pay your dues, right? And it's really sad, you know, that when they had to do that. And you know, I go, man, the difference between you and me is that I just didn't get caught. You know, you know, so it's like, you know, you got to face. You
You do have to face the consequences. I've got a big criminal record, and it really does stuff up your life in a way or sense of work. So because I've got 6 convictions, I can't work in a jewelry store. I can't get a blue card. I submitted for a blue card, and they just kept asking all these questions because of trauma, and just I can't remember the dates because I was high all the time. They needed the dates to process. So it really stuffed up a lot of opportunities for me. Like I can't work in aged care or children or anything like that. So I encourage you to not get in trouble with the law.
Don't go down that path.
Don't go down.
And that's a real pity, and that's something very real that we're fighting. And you know, if anybody has any connections with, you know, the people up there that make those decisions about who gets a blue card, when these guys have, you know, recovered and they've got a couple of years under their belt, and they've shown that they're, you know, on a tripod system of supportive framework that can support their recovery, and they're still seeing counsellors, there shouldn't be a reason why they can't get a blue card and go back to work and get a blue card and go back and tell our kids and our youth about the dangers of this drug, as long as they're secure in their recovery. You know, and we, you know, the system just doesn't allow for recovery. You know, it keeps them entrapped in, you're an addict and that's all that, you know, you don't deserve to get up and get a job, and that's just wrong. That's just not okay, because people can turn their lives around. You know, people, you know, everybody deserves a second chance, and everybody deserves a chance to make things right and to give back to your community. So, you know, that's just not okay, and you know, we're prepared to stand with you and say, hey, you know, let's investigate this and see why can't she get a blue card? Because you know, it's important that I think you can make a real difference in the schools. You know, because I've got kids, and I'd rather have you talk to my kids about what happened in drug world or ice world as we call it, than have a teacher tell them about drugs. Because I know that they're going to get it from the horse's mouth, and they're going to understand where that takes you. And more importantly, I want to know, you know, that journey that you went on, how, you know, when we always go, you know, it's bad to be on drugs, and the teachers will tell you that, you know, because they do, but we still did it. But I want to know about, was that a negative impact on your life? You said about the blue cards, that obviously
The
was.
ICE, or just about
the whole journey as a whole.
ICE has been probably the worst choice I've ever made. I wanted to numb the pain. Like I constantly had trauma, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I would use.
Yeah.
But then I'll get paranoid, and then I'll get very angry, very violent. I just ended up just starting to bash people for no reason. And I got into martial arts. I had a thing for martial arts since I was 13.
Yeah.
So my last conviction was because I hit someone, and they said, because your class is a lethal weapon if you do martial arts. So that was a bigger fine and conviction, and I really could have hurt this person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my last person that I hurt. I glassed them at the clubhouse, and there was blood everywhere. The prospects had people had mops mopping the bloods and everything, and I couldn't remember. I didn't even remember. I literally went out, wiped my hand, came back in with one of the girls, and I'm like, oh, what happened? And they just looked at me, and they're like, you just glassed someone. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I sat down. I'm like, so who's that girl over there between the two members? And they're like, what girl? I'm like, she's got white dress on, long hair. She's like, no, there's no one there. So literally hallucinating, like.
Wow.
Yeah, so it just makes you think all the times that you have hallucinate, like with my marriage, all the times that I've accused him of stuff, did I actually really see it?
Yeah.
Or am I just in my head, paranoid, you know, and you would actually find things to actually go, you know, that makes sense to me. Like out of it could be like 15,000 things that it could be, or you'll pick that one and resonate with it, and I'm like, that's got to be it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm laughing because I'm remembering doing that as well.
We've all done it.
Because when you look at it, you go, how ridiculous, like, what were you thinking? But you weren't.
No,
because the thing is, your brain is not wiring properly. Your processing centre is not working. You know, you're in psychosis, hallucination, and as you can hear, it can be dangerous. Yeah, you can put yourself in some really bad situations. That you're really lucky to be alive.
I'm very lucky to be alive. I'm very
blessed. Almost, yeah. That's awesome, man. So, tell me out of all that journey, when did you start using ice? Like, how were you introduced to ice? And you know,
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
I think I was starting to deal. I was in the valley, in Fortitude Valley. I would have been 24, I think, and I was just partying all the time. Met the right person, and they had the stuff, and then because I'm a very bubbly out there person. I like to mingle and stuff, so it was really easy to sell. And
you're very lovable.
Oh, thank you. But I don't know, I could like mingle with people, and I love connecting with people, and that was my thing. And I just thought, if I'm happy and getting high, why can't they get happy and high? You know, kind of thing. Yeah. But you do see people fall. You do see, like, I've seen people lose businesses and house and selling their cars to get on, and just it's a crazy thing to get out of. Yeah. It's really hard to get out of. Like mentally, it's really hard to get out of.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you know that 2%. 2 out of 100 people who become addicted to ice, only 2 out of 100 actually come out.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that's a statistic. So it is very, very hard to get out of ice addiction specifically, because it does grasp your brain. It does. And it's a mental addiction more than. I mean, it destroys your body because of the chemicals in it. And you got stuff like acetone and Drano and glass in it. But at the time, you're not thinking, you're not processing, so you don't really understand what you're doing. That's eating away at your organs and your vascular system. But it gets a hold of your brain, you know, and it's a mental addiction more so. And it's hard to, it's like, I often in the schools, I often say, you know, if I cut off your air supply right now, what would you do? You think you'll do anything to get the next grasp, you know, bit of air. And that's what it feels like when you need the gear. It's like, you know, it's like, I need it like air. Like, you don't understand. Like, if I don't have it, I'm gonna explode, you know. And people don't get that concept. So we put it into the best concept is like, if you had no air, you do whatever it takes. Sometimes hurt people and people that you love. Yeah, and you can end up, you know, killing people in prison. You can end up in such a mess, honestly, or even suiciding and killing yourself from the psychosis of it.
Well, I tried to commit suicide 3 times as well.
Goodness.
Yeah. So I was about to jump off a bridge. This is when I just lost my son to drugs, and I was literally having the crack pipe, sitting there, and the train was coming. Like, yep, I'm going to do it, and stand up, and I just couldn't do it. I'm like, okay, so I went home. This was 2005. and then I just sat and prayed, and I'm like, I need you to help. I can't do it. I still couldn't do it. That was 2005. I only stopped 2018.
Yeah.
And the other time was I found out that my husband was sleeping with someone. We both were being unfaithful.
That's what happens in the world
It
of us,
does.
you know.
Yeah.
In drug world, you know, that's what happens. You just,
Yeah.
everything becomes a mess.
It
you
does
know?
become a big mess. Yeah. So I then tried to use, I won't go into details, but I tried the fan and I tried other things, and I just was more crying out.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know
didn't want to be there.
I just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to live. But what you were saying before, like that, the drug just to grasp, like mine was the comfort. I love the pipe. The pipe was my thing because it was a comfort zone. I felt comfort. It comforted me when I was sad. It helped me to celebrate and did all these things. So it was really hard to let go of that.
Yeah.
And then a close family member introduced shooting up, and they said, well, you'll get quicker hit and you'll get quicker joy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't even know what the word joy was. I had to ask someone when they were talking about it.
Wow.
And because I didn't go to school, I quit school in grade 8. I just was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And because it was a family member, the drugs were around all the time. It was back dealing again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was always around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very hard to get off. And it wasn't until my daughter, she was 4 at the time, and I was literally driving. For no reason, I just didn't want to go home. I was paranoid that my husband was going to take the kids. And I thought being in my car was safe. Does anyone just not home?
Yeah.
And my daughter said, Mum, can we just go home? And that just like a light bulb come. I'm like, Mel, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You just lost your son. You could lose your kid again. What are you doing? And but I was so stuck. I'm like, but what? There's nothing else for me. Like I'm known as crackle and a prostitute. And I'm like, and I've got no support, no family support, nothing. My husband was in active addiction, and it's just like, so I couldn't get help there, and we were in a toxic marriage. So it was really hard. And then that's when I saw Christians and they had this joy, and I'm like, I just walked into a church, and that helped me. And the fact that my daughter said, if my daughter didn't say that, they probably got taken off me too, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have 2 kids.
I've got 3.
3 kids.
3 kids.
So one of your son.
Yeah, mine's
Is he using ice as well? Or
Not-
what is he using?
he's smoking cannabis.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure about ice. I lost my son when he was 4, from a friend who said, like, I was taking drugs from Brisbane to Mackay, and she had child welfare and the police waiting for me, and I'm kind of upset because she didn't. I thought she was a friend, and she didn't take me to rehab or anything like that. So I lost him and fought for 10 years, got married and I had work and everything, but it still wasn't good enough for the system. And
So were you clean in that time?
No.
No, so you were using.
I was still using.
Yeah.
And I just remembered, sorry, my brain just toddled back for a second to a memory. So 2 years I gave up on him because it took 10 years and I had nothing left to give. And so then I said to, that was 2 years prior. I'm trying to think, sorry. About 2015. And when I was homeless again, and the husband and I decided that we'll live upstairs, downstairs in 2018. And it was so random. I gave my life to the Lord. I said, I'll quit sex work. I'll rely on you. I'll give up drugs. I was already 3 months clean and joined Salvation Army and volunteer there. And it was my first miracle. I got a text message saying, do you want your son for school holidays? And I'm like, yes, it'll be so awesome. But I don't know him. I didn't raise him. I don't know what he's like. The guilt kicked in because I thought that I abandoned him because of drugs.
How old is he now?
He's 19.
Now, how old was he at that time when you had him for the first time?
17. So it's only recently. Yeah, and so he's left. He sexually assaulted my daughter. And so he's gone. I haven't talked to him since or anything. I tried texting him like a couple of weeks ago and he was playing the mind games of, I don't know who you are, but I've got you in my number kind of thing. And it kind of hurts because I felt like all the guilt if I didn't use drugs and I would still have him. But then I kind of like, well, but if my mum or someone just helped me kind of thing. So you go on this kind of blame thing and journey and then you're like, but you know, I still had a choice to use drugs.
Yeah.
I still had a choice, even though I didn't have that guidance. And I do feel that there's some people out there that feel like they don't have that support. Like they don't have someone say, hey, you know, that's not okay. Let me help you get into rehab, or
Yeah.
let me help you take your child while you get some help or something.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that. I really wish that would have happened. But
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So you had to walk that out.
I had to walk
And
that out for the
wow,
second
what a
time.
journey.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
I've
goodness.
like kind of like lost him twice now. So it's like two times of grief kind of thing. But I don't actually know my son, so that one's a hard one.
It is, and you know what? I believe that God's a God of restoration, and I believe that He will come to see his mum, in recovery, and living in joy and peace, and He'll want that. And that's the thing. We can only lead by example. We can't, make anybody make their choices for them. We can't, and neither can families. You can't make somebody stop using. All you can do is show them that you miss the person that that you had, that you miss your relationship, and you can just get an understanding of why people embark on this journey. Had somebody in your family seen the real issues inside, and that you really just need a love, and God's given you that, and that fills that gap. You don't need much more than that. But back then, if somebody had seen that early enough, or say AAIC had come and said, hey, you're hurting, man, I can help you out, I'll walk with you, and help you create a life that is awesome, a life that you love. Let's create a dream. Let's look at what you can achieve, and because if I've done it, you can do it.
That's right.
You know? So if that had been in place, I think your journey could have turned a lot earlier. So that's why we do what we do, because we recognise that and what we needed, and what we can give to others. So you do unto others as you would have done unto you, or you would like done unto you. So that is a really strong principle that we live by. You see, that was us. What if that was us? And it was, and it can be. It's like this, honestly. I'm sure, like I said before, you weren't growing up thinking, okay, that's the career path I want to have. I wasn't thinking, at the age of 40, I'm just going to become addicted to ice, and I'm just going to lose everything, and I'm just going to wreck my life. That wasn't the plan. But that's what happens on the journey. And people can turn their life around, and they can change it. Because along with that life, the reality is that there's a lot of negative impact. And that's what, because people might go, oh, well, what's wrong with, prostituting yourself? Well, there's not really, but the impact of that, and, the impact of that on your life, on your body, on your emotion, on your psyche, why are you living that way, when, you can have a loving relationship. You don't need, you don't need the love from 100 people. You can have a love, an intimate, real connected, deep loving relationship, but the impact of that can be deep for the journey. The impact of the decision to do ice or drugs is a negative. We have free will, and sometimes people in early recovery goes, oh yeah, but I want to use. Yeah, but do you want that impact? If you want to use and you're prepared to pay that price, mate, don't ask me for help. But if you're sick of that impact, if you're sick of the consequences that you're going to be left with, sometimes for life, most of the times for life, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, blue card, you can't get a blue card for work.
I've got a lumbar spine that ate around the tissues, so now I can't do the gym, I can't sleep for too long. I've had muscle spasms and been in hospital 3 times this year just because it skids up, and it's all from eating around the tissue, and because of all the sex work that I did, it's wear and tear, and like even doctors say that's pretty young for you to get wear and tear now. Like I can't even get surgery.
Really?
So, no, too young to get surgery.
Wow.
So Chris will help me.
And He'll make a way. Where there's no way. So the impact of that lifestyle, can be forever and can be deep, and we can only, pray that God, changes things for us, but, you can use that you can use that for good. And I believe, you know, that you'll be able to share, not just here, but continue sharing your story out there, because other girls need to hear the impact. You know, young girls in high school, you know, they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, we're gonna hit up tonight, we're gonna, you know, get some MDMA, you know, we're gonna drink, we're gonna go out partying. I want them to hear where that's gonna lead them.
It does, and I've been in situations where I've had fantasy and I've woken up naked next to a guy I don't even know. So I just wouldn't take the drug. I've been spiked so many times. Many times I've been lucky enough to escape. I've rolled out the car door and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's really not worth. It's not worth it.
It's amazing that you're here. Honestly, I just am really grateful that you've come out. Because I think that God's going to use your testimony to change the, you know, other people's. My heart is that you know, we can unsell a dangerous chemical. You know, a dangerous chemical to our teens, to you know, to our society, because it's not cool to be on ice, guys. It's not cool. You know, that's why we say not even once. It's not worth it. You know, you don't want to get entrapped. You think it's not going to happen to you. You think, I'm not going to go do, I won't do that, but I'll just do this.
Or I'm in control of it.
That's it.
Yeah, and that's when it becomes a habit. Because you constantly think, I'll be right.
Yeah, and that's the biggest lie, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I want to hear, I know we don't have much more time, and we are sitting here for a long time, so thank you for that. But I want to hear about, when was that? So that your daughter was the moment that you thought, I've had enough. But you'd come to the end of the road.
I come to the end of the road.
Your life had already compounded where you were kind of cornered, huh?
Yeah, I was kind of cornered. And so I just went to church. I thought, if I'm going, I knew what my life was like. I lived it. Yeah. And I'm like, why don't I just try 110% God, like, lie? And if it's not for me, or if it's not worth it, or if it's just made believe or fake, then I'll just go back to what I'm doing.
That's
you
right.
know what I mean?
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. But because we've got short time, I've just in my 2 years of giving my life to Jesus. Like, I was on a journey. Like, my first miracle was my son.
Yep.
And then that was March 2018. Then August 2018, I got baptized. And in 8 weeks, which I thought was trauma at the time, which ended up being God just cutting me from chains and turning like my life into beautiful things. And when the life that I had was always negative, nothing wrong, there's no coincidences, there's nothing positive.
Yeah.
And like, I literally had DV with my partner. I had my son sexually assault my daughter. I had a car accident. My mum was in ICU, and I was at tethers. And so I ended up relapsing. I was 10 months clean. Wow. At that stage. Then I relapsed because I'm like, I can't do this. And I shouted to God, I'm like, I don't understand. And I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, trust me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never trusted people for starters. let alone someone I can't see. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you a go. And so then I'm like, so the time came up, and with my mum being ICO. Is that right? ICU. Yeah. And I knew that my bad brother, I call him the bad brother, was going to be there, and that was a big trigger. And I'm like, and God said, trust me. I'm like, and then my drug dealer was just around the corner. I'm like, okay. And then a lady from church just magically called, and she said, come see me. She rang the doctors and said, I won't make it down in time to see my mum. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust God. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to give him a go. And literally, it was like the best week in a way. Like, it wasn't even trauma. Wow. My brother didn't end up being there. I did a healing prayer, which I've never prayed out loud before, over my mum, who's an atheist at the time. And my brother was an atheist. And I'm like, do you mind if I pray? He's like, oh, it's all good. So you can leave the room. Whatever. And like, my mum would punch me literally if she knew I was praying. But she's in a coma. Did you pray that? She was in a coma. I just like did a healing prayer, and I said, like, Mum, I pray for, Lord, can I have complete healing or salvation? Or when she comes to Judgment Day, when she stands in front of you, can you just give her a chance or forgiveness? And then next minute, literally 8 days later, she's walked out, and hospitals just said to a lady from church, Mel won't make it down by the time I got down there. And the fuel was $70, and it usually cost me $150 to drive down. Like, it was just so
too many coincidences.
Yeah. And then, it was like he backtracked those particular trauma events. So a lady from church gave me a car. Like, who gives a car like that?
Yeah, God's given me a car. I've had 2 cars. Thank you, guys.
It was so amazing. Like, and I've never had that before. I've never had anyone love me or show me, and like, or give you a car.
Yeah.
So, and then like the house, when I was in crisis accommodation after leaving the accommodation with my husband, I'm now in housing, which is quite like cheap accommodation, which is awesome. And it's stable. I haven't had to move, and they're lovely. And I said to God once, I'm like, I know this is a big ask, but can I have a balcony, a fully fenced yard, a place to have a gym? And I know all these things, and I'm like, just please, because I've never had anywhere. I've always been homeless or living in Broadway, and I just wanted something. And you know, he provided. I've got a house that has everything. I really just got absolutely everything in it.
That's awesome.
And it's so good. And then sorry, I'm rambling on.
That's all right. No,
It's
please
exciting.
share. Because that's your story.
Yeah.
And that's your journey. And that's important that you share, you know, that transformation.
Yeah.
That you share how you got what you got and where you are.
Yeah.
So tell me how long clean you've had.
19 months.
Fantastic.
19
That's
months.
awesome, man. That's brilliant.
No desires, nothing to use. Like thoughts coming, like I mean, just shut them off, and like the enemy will try to like give you. I get taste of meth every now and then, and I'm like, ew, that tastes like fuel. I don't want to have that. I mean, like you know, and you just push it aside. And God's good; He takes the desires away. You know?
And that, you know, that taste or that smell or that thought for a minute never leaves you.
No.
So you are always in recovery, and you're always bracing yourself. But you know, I have this conversation for a lot of people that are in early recovery. It's like this, you know, I know who you are, and I know that you tried to kill, steal, and destroy me, and I know what you're here to get. And you know what? You're not going to win. And I'm not listening to you talk to the hand because I don't want to hear. And you know, you know, the word repent means to turn away, 180 degree away. So turn away from whatever you were facing. And don't put yourself in the position, you know, to be tempted like that. You know, don't put yourself in a vulnerable place where you can fall. You know, I don't go and put myself in, although I've had it in front of me, and I'm like, you know what? I look at you like the devil. I look at you, want to kill, steal, and destroy my life, and I hate you. You know, and you know what? Because of that, because you've tried to come in front of me, I'm gonna warn 10 more kids because of that. So that is the attitude that, you know, we have to have against that, because the minute it grabs hold of you, it will kill you. You know, and I know when you relapse, it's probably worse than when you used to use it the first time, right? When I relapsed, and I did after 6 months of amazing, like, God just moving in my life, but I you know, relapsed, and then I did that for 4 months, and it was like, I came out like it was like 100-fold the pain and the, you know, everything that I went through the first time. But the damage was worse. Like, and I'm like, man, imagine if I relapsed again. Some people relapse again and again, and I can't begin to imagine how much that folds over, you know. And I'm like, I don't think I could take it anymore. You know,
you get to the point where you're like, that's it.
Yeah. So when you had a relapse. After 10 months. And then.
Oh, so
you just ran back to God.
God just told me to trust Him, and that's when I just stopped it then.
Wow.
That was it.
Just like that.
Just like that. Yeah. But He restored everything, and that's what made me have faith in Him and trusted Him, because I never had it before. And I'm like, oh, if this is good, like I've never had good. This is good. Like even like with the DV, like my husband and I, we're getting divorced next Wednesday, but we co-parent so well, and I prayed for 2 years for that, just to have like a really good relationship. And we're like best friends. Like we co-parent so well, that's and so like that's a blessing. And my kids are God kids. They just praise God and love God, and it's just it's so good. So it's been blessed. And He restores. So what we've lost and all the ashes and hurt that we've had, He replaces it. It really does.
That's so beautiful. You know, that you can, that's a whole life, guys. You know, that dramatically has been changed. You know, and like some people go, oh, you know, is AARC becoming about, is this like a religious thing? No, we're not. But this is Mel's story, and this is what she's saying. This is what helped her change her life. You know, and you know, there might be something in there for somebody here tonight. You know, you might be have relapsed a few times and gone, hey, I've tried this rehab stuff, you know, and I don't know much about this God thing, you know, but like Mel, hey, what if I give it a go? You know, what have I got to lose? You know, if that might help you, it might, just a small minute chance that it might, give it a shot. You know, you got nothing to lose, honestly. And you did that. that. You went 110% in and said, I've got nothing to lose. I've lost everything already.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
I'm going to give it a shot and show me what you can do. You know, God's word says, test me and see that I'm good.
And he just keeps doing it.
And he keeps doing it, you know, and it's not, that is your journey. My journey has God in it as well.
Yeah.
You know, I just encourage you, you know, that recovery is possible. You know, and there's many ways that you can obtain recovery. But can you maintain it, you know? And I just encourage you that, you know, you might have gone into different rehabs and tried recovery on your own. You know, we're here to help. We want to buddy you and, you know, walk with you. We're not going to push God down your throat. That's your own journey to experience. But we are here to support you and to tell you that there is life after ice. There is life after drugs, and there is a life after meth.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're that person that we're talking to tonight and, you know, you've had enough, you come to the end of the road and you're thinking, I've got to make a change, I don't want this anymore. I just, you know, really put it out to you there from my heart to yours. Connect with us, yeah. You can send us a private message right now. We have our care team online and, you know, they're happy to take your number or connect in a messenger with you and start chat. Or you can call us at the office here. You know, the number is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. That's 1-800-668-6423 because we want to walk with you. Guys, if you have any questions, we're just about to wrap up. If you have any questions for Mel, please pop them out right now and we'll get notification of that. Ask away because it's really good. Mel, you know, we'll be able to share that any of her experiences and so forth. And we will tag her in, so if you have any questions, you know, communicate with Mel. She'll be able to answer that. Mel, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story and going into the detail of the depths of the past, because I know it's never easy, and, you know, be mindful when you leave, because sometimes walking back and walking into that journey can bring up feelings. They are only feelings, Then it's not real anymore, and sometimes we can get, you know, we can go back on the past, especially if maybe you're in early recovery or you're in recovery. Sometimes, you know, you have what we call a flashback, you know, and the feeling of that time comes back, you know, and you might taste, you know, the gear, or you might smell it. I often smell it, and you know, but it's going, okay, that's just a feeling. And I'm not moved by my feelings. But I'm moved forward, not backwards, and I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to hell, you know, and especially when you taste the good.
Yeah, the good is so good. So good.
And I know God has a big plan for you.
Thank you.
And I know He's doing amazing things in your life, and I'm just so honoured that you would come on the show and share, and possibly even connect with us to, you know, come into schools and, you know, buddy somebody else up, you know, that might want a bit of support. So we'd be honoured if you do that. Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Right. Thank you.
Guys, we're going to wrap up for tonight. If you need support, don't forget to call us. You know, we love you. Yeah. Stay safe, stay clean, and be blessed. We'll see you next week. Take care. Yeah, you guys are the love. Love is everything.
Yes.
Awesome.